Hey, Shabbat Tov, hi everybody. Tonight we are going to complete the Perek, the 15th Perek of Masechet Shabbat, and we some beautiful derashot and halachot about comparing Shabbat and Yom Kippur. Okay, we start with the derashot regarding the words "V'tachat kebodo." This is here because beforehand we saw that the word kebodo can refer to someone's clothing. Rabbi Yochanan said that. We're talking about wearing nice clothing for Shabbat. And Rabbi Yochanan said that he honors Shabbat, and this is called his honor. So since we mentioned that, we mentioned something else about that word. V'tachat kedabo yekad yekod kikod esh. This is pasuk in Yeshaya that's talking about the downfall of Ashur and the king of Ashur and his armies. And so the famous pasuk says, "Will I axe boast over him who hews it?" Right. In other words, Hashem is the axe wielder, and Assyria is only the axe. And so, because they were haughty, God is going to send a wasting away of the fatness of Assyria. And instead of the glory of Ashur, there will be instead yakad yakod kikod esh, a burning like fire. Okay, so the word kebodo you see here is translated as under its body shall burn. So that's interesting translation, which the Talmud is going to agree with actually. Okay, so that's pasuk we're going to deal with a couple of different interpretations. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, tachat kebodo, velo kebodo mamash. When it says kebodo, it doesn't mean it does not mean it's actual honor. Rabbi Yochanan the Ta'ameh, the Rabbi Yochanan karel maneh mechabedotai. Okay, so kebodo he's assuming means the body, and here it means kebodo means his clothing, and so here it says tachat kebodo means that under his under his clothing. In other words, that the clothing itself, what's under the clothing will be burnt, and not the clothing itself, right? And this follows what he says otherwise, that a glory is called, someone's clothing is called glory. So in other words, they're going to be burnt in this miraculous way where their bodies will be burnt, but their clothing will remain intact. Okay, that's opinion number one. It's talking about their actual bodies that will be burnt. Ends up being the same thing, that their bodies will be burnt. Rabbi Shmuel ben Nachmani amar tachat kedabo kisravat bnei Aaron. He says tachat is not instead of their bodies there will be fire, but rather within their bodies, that their bodies will remain intact, and it's their soul that will be burnt. Like Bnei Aaron, who were killed in that way. It's some inner burning that will burn their life out, but their body will remain intact. Okay, so three different interpretations of what that phrase means, tachat kebodo. Now a little more about clothing. Amar Rabbi Acha bar Abba amar Rabbi Yochanan minayin l'shinui begadim min haTorah. How do you know that it was appropriate to change clothes for different tasks? Shene'emar ufashatet begadav v'lavash begadim acharim. The Kohen in the morning, when he would go and clean out the Terumat Hadesh and clean out the ashes from the night before, he would wear lesser clothing to do that work. It's kind of dirty work, and he doesn't want to dirty his special clothing that he uses when he's actually bringing a korban. ותנא דבר ישמעאל, לימדך תורה דרך ארץ, בגדים שבישל בהן כדרה לרבו, אל ימזוג בהם כוס לרבו. This is a good lesson, that a servant who should not wear the same clothing when he's preparing the wine for his master. That's preparation clothing. When he goes to serve it, he should get dressed up nicely to go and serve the master. So they don't get dirty, and to serve greater honor when you're doing work that's more important. And so too here, when the Kohen is cleaning up, he wears lesser clothing. When he's actually bringing a korban or a ketoret or something, then he should wear nicer clothing. Okay, now look at this transition. Amar Rabbi Chia bar Abba Amar Rabbi Yochanan. This is right. It's said in the name of the same sages, right? In the name of Rabbi Yochanan, he adds something else. So that's the connection. That a sage, Torah scholar, should not walk outside with patched up shoes. So notice talking about the dress of a Talmid Chacham comes right after the dress of a Kohen. In other words, a Kohen has to dress nicely because he is serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And now we're making a comparison. It's kind of seamless. You just go right from one to the other. That when they're in an age when there's no more service of the Bet HaMikdash, it's the Talmidei Chachamim who are serving God all the time. Whenever they are teaching, whenever they're out and about, they serve as exemplars for everyone else to look at. Therefore, it's important not only that they be spiritually fit, but also that they dress nicely. David, you always are machmir on this, yeah, right? You're not only a Torah reader, but you make sure to dress impeccably to show the glory, the honor of Torah. Okay, so therefore you shouldn't go out with shoes that are all patched. This sage did go out with shoes with patches on them. So how could he do that? That's a patch upon patch is not allowed. In other words, you can't hold everybody to such a high standard. It's normal. Every people have patches around. But the patch on top of a patch, that really will look not nice. I mean, it would be, you can't, very expensive to have to buy new shoes every time they get a hole in it. Not like today when much easier. Amar Rabbi Chia bar Abba Rabbi Yochanan. The same sage said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Kol Tamid Chacham shenimsa rebav al bigdo hayav mita. Anyone who has a grease stain, a sage who has a grease stain on his clothing, hayav mita. Wow, why so strict just for a stain? Shneimar kol misanai ahabu mavet. Pasuk in Mishleh is talking about chokhmah and says all those who hate chokhmah, they love death. And it says, Al tikre misanai ela masniai. Not those who hate Torah, but those who cause others to hate Torah. How so? If you see a Talmid Chacham and he has a splotch on his shirt, and people will look at him and say, oh, look how dirty he is. He represents Torah, and they will come to hate Torah through him. And so therefore, because he causes people to hate Torah, ahavu mavet, is deserving of death. So therefore, he should be representative of the honor of Torah, and dress without stains. Rabina Amar Revad Itemar, not Revav, which means a grease stain, but Revad, which means a blood stain. In other words, he's being much more mekel. A grease stain you could barely see, you kind of have to look carefully. A blood stain is bright red, that you're going to see from far away. So he seems to be a little bit more lenient on the type of stain. But we say, no, actually they're not arguing with each other. Ha begilima, ha bilbusha. One's talking about the outer jacket. The outer jacket, that even a little stain, people will notice and he should make sure that his outer garment is not stained at all. However, in his shirt that's under his garment, which people will not see so readily, there, if he has a grease stain, it's okay. But a blood stain there is not good. Good. Say again, another quote in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. This is again from Yeshaya, but now from chapter 20. And here, God comes to Yeshaya and says, untie your sackcloth. In other words, you're going to wear it loosely and take off your sandals. And so he does that. And then what's the meaning of it? Hashem says, Kasher alach abdi Yeshaya aron v'yachef shalosh shanim ot mofet al Misraim ve'al Kush. He did this for 3 years. Yeshaya had to go around without clothing, without shoes. And this is a sign regarding that Ashur is going to come and conquer Egypt and Ethiopia and cause them to go into exile without shoes and naked. That's the meaning of Yeshaya's prophecy. Okay, so what does it mean? Did he actually, Yeshaya, the great Navi, is going to go around all disheveled like this? And it's embarrassing. Arom means bibgadim beluim. Doesn't mean actually naked, but tattered clothing. V'yachef b'minalim hametulaim. And that means doesn't mean actually barefoot, but rather with patched shoes. But it teaches that patched shoes and tattered clothing is like going out with naked and barefoot. Okay. Of course, Rambam and other commentaries say that Yeshaya did not actually go out dressed like this. This was all in a prophecy, in a dream, right? That he had. Then he spoke about what it means within the dream to have walked around naked. But you see that the Gemara, which probably takes it literally, that he did do this, wanted to save his honor and not say he went around 3 years naked. That would be very embarrassing. Okay, and so that relates to before, Tamil Lacham, of course, should always be dressed impeccably. Yeshua, he got a special prophecy that he should underdress. That's okay, he did that. Tenan Hatam. Yes.
But it's like double for Yeshaya. Not only was he Navi, but he was also of the royal family.
Right.
So it would be doubly embarrassing.
Right. Okay, so yeah, people would really people would talk about it, which I guess is the point. That everybody said, "Did you see Yeshaya? What's going on? Why is he dressed like that?" And then people would ask, and then they would find out why, and then they would get the message. Okay, it's like the senators the other week were dressed in African a scarf, right, to show their solidarity with African Americans. Okay, Tanan Hatam Rebab al HaMirda Hoses. Okay, now since we're talking about stains, a few more halachot about stains. So we know that anything that you have to put into a mikveh has to be no chatzitza. There can't be any separation between the item that you're putting in the mikveh and the water. However, what if it has a stain? So revav, if there's this grease stain al hamirda on a donkey saddle, and the donkey saddle became tameh, hoses, that stain, you got to remove it, you got to clean it off beforehand. Otherwise, that grease becomes a chatzitza. Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel Omer, ad ki isara italki. He says, hold on, not just any stain, it has to be a stain that's as big as a small coin. This kind of small coin. There was a lot of isar from different places. The Italian one. Okay, if it's that big, then you know what, people care about that and they don't want it there. If it's small, then it all has to do with what people's expectations and what people mind. If it's really a tiny dot, people don't care about it, and therefore it's batel, you don't have to worry about it. But if it's that big, then people don't like it there, and then it becomes a chatzitza. Begadim, okay, that's about the saddle. How about clothing? Misad echad eno choses. If there's a stain just on one side of the clothing, so it's a minor stain. People don't care. It's not a chatzitza. You could dip that shirt. Mishneh sedadin, but if it's so spoiled that both sides, you can't even wear it inside out, both sides are stained, then choses, nobody would wear it like that, and therefore it is considered an interposition, and you cannot dip it that way. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Mishum Rabbi Ishmael, af misad echad choses. He's more machmir, even one side of a garment people don't like, and it is a stain that you have to remove before putting it in the mikveh. Okay, good. So that's the Mishnah. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish ben Rabbi Chanina mirdat misad echad o mishne sedadim. It's not clear regarding the shirt. You said one side not is okay, two sides is not good. But how about the midah? It just says revav, stain on the saddle. Was that one side or two sides? Not clear. Amar le zo lo shamati. Truth is, I never heard an answer about that. Kayotze bo shamati, but I heard something similar. Ditnan. The continuation of that Mishnah. Rabbi Yosef Omer, shel ben na'in misad echad, v'shel bur mishneh sedadim. That the clothing of ben na'im, we'll see what these are, but these are people that are meticulous with the way they dress. So because they're meticulous, even a one-sided stain, they would not wear it. That's considered a chatzitza. But for a bur, meaning a simpleton, ignoramus, they don't dress so nicely. So there, if it's a one-sided stain, they don't care about it. So it's okay, you could dip with it. But for two sides, then it would be chatzitza for them. And the mirdat, a saddle, shouldn't be more important than, cleaner, higher standard than the clothing of an ignoramus. So therefore, the mirdat, if it's one-sided, it's okay. It means over here, when it says no good, it means it's two-sided. Okay, we answered that. The reason why we're bringing this whole thing here is because of this derasha. My bana'in. What does that Mishnah mean when it says bana'in are meticulous about their clothing? Amar Rabbi Yochanan, elu talmidei chachamim shoskin bebinyano shel olam kol yemehen. Sages that are dealing with the building of the world all of their lives. In other words, they consider the Torah learning and not just an intellectual exercise, but rather they are making the world better. They're teaching God's ways, and so society can work better and be holier. So they are building the world. Right? Al tikre banaich ela bonaich, the same idea. And so these are the sages that are meticulous in their dress. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, ezu tamid chacham shemachazrin lo abeda betbiut ha'ayin. Another statement Rabbi Yochanan says about the greatness of a sage. What is the status of a sage that if he says I lost something, you give it to him just based on his visual identification? Usually, if you go to a lost and found in those days, you have to ask them questions. You have to give a particular detail that to identify it. But Tamil Acham, if he comes and says that's my watch, you just trust him. But so how do you test that if someone is up to that level that you can just trust anything that they say? This is someone who was very careful regarding his garments, that they're turned the right way. He doesn't wear it inside out with the seams showing. He's dressed well. If he cares that much about his presentation, about his own self-honor and the honor of the Torah that he represents, then that shows he's a great person and therefore trustworthy. We're talking about different levels of sages. Who is a great sage that he can be a leader of a community? There's someone you can ask him a question about anything, right? Any masechet, not only the masechet of Daf Yomi. You can ask him about any place, even masechet kala. It's a minor tractate. It's talking about the laws of weddings, right? Kala belo beracha. You have to say sheva berachot for a woman to get married. It starts off. So it's very, very rarely studied. But even Masechet Kala is so meticulous that even though probably no one's going to ever ask him, but he knows that as well. Then he's worthy to be a leader. Yochanan says yet another thing about Tamid Chacham. Shebnei Eiro mitzuvin la'asot lo melacha. The status of a Torah scholar, who the inhabitants of the city are required to do his work for him, right? In other words, they have to support and sustain him. What level? Not just anybody who wants to study, but it has to be a certain level. This is someone who leaves all of his own business aside, and he deals all the time with matters of heaven. That's a person, so he sees very dedicated. So the community should support him. And this means only that they should provide him bread. In other words, they have to give him some minimal sustenance so he can stay alive. They don't have to buy him a palace. Similar to what he said before, Tamil is someone who you ask him any question and he knows the answer. What does it matter? If he knows everything, then he can be the leader of the community, like we said above here. If he knows one masechet, okay, or with the masechet that everyone is studying and during that semester, then he can be a local leader. But if he knows everything, then he can be the head of the yeshiva and be the Rosh Yeshiva, be the leader over many communities. Okay, good. So that was Rabbi Yochanan. Now we have Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish is teaching. Amar elu kelim ha'ulariyin habayin midat hayam. Remember we talked about the banaim, these fancy clothing, people that wear fancy clothing and are particular, even a one-sided stain they care about. So Rabbi Yochanan says, the Shakish says, no, it's talking about these bath attendants that are from other countries. So this clothing that comes from other countries is very fine. Perhaps it's talking about the bath attendants because they're sitting in it's very wet all the time. I guess they have to wear some kind of clothing that's like a bathing suit material, or it could be referring to some clothing that they give to people when they come to the bathhouse. Anyway, this is very fine clothing that people don't like when it's stained. So now you're saying these are so fine that even a one-sided stain people care about. Apparently, a one-sided grease stain really would only be apparent if it's talking about something white. So are these white garments that they're wearing? We have a contradiction. When Rabbi Yonai was on his deathbed, he says, "My sons, don't bury me in white clothing and not in black clothing, shards. Lebanim, Shema lo ezkeh ve'yeh kechatan ben abelim. Don't bury me in white because maybe I will not merit to go to be in heaven, and then I'll be with all those who are mourning. I'm going to be wearing white, and all those who are being punished are wearing black. I'm going to look like a groom in the house of mourning, and then I'm going to look out of place. I'm going to be embarrassed. Shechorim, don't dress me in black. Shema ezkeh. Maybe I will merit Tchiyat HaMetim, and then I'm going to be wearing black. I'm going to a wedding wearing black, and everybody's wearing white, and I'll be embarrassed. Here's that word, right? Rather, these clothing that come from afar. Therefore, you see they're not black or white, because he says, "Don't dress me in black or white," but rather this sumakeh, something colored, red or colored. Okay, so you see here something colored, which would not show a stain, and up above we said it can't have any stain at all, which sounds like it's white. So what are these garments? One's talking about the overgarment. That's the one that was colored. It's supposed to be fancy. It looks nice. You have as a color. That's the one that Abiyonai was talking about, that they would dress his body. And the undergarment that's all white is the one that the bath attendants would use. And so there's two different types. They may be the same material, but different usages. One's colored, one's not.
Why do you say Tchiyat HaMetim?
Well, I imagine if he's meeting people, then they must be Tchiyat HaMetim, and that's why he's worried about that. There's a lot of other Talmudim that talk about other places in Talmud Bavli that talk about Tchiyat HaMetim, and people and the rabbis are worried about, what am I going to be wearing?
Right, so he's going to be worried about wearing. So then he just say, "Dress me in white, because if I wake up, then I'll be wearing white with everyone else, and if not, big deal." As opposed to saying, if I'm lo ezkeh, I'll be wearing white, and I'll be with the mourners. So
okay, good, right. So what is the lo ezkeh part? Well, it could be that they will all have Tchiyat HaMetim, but like Daniel said, some will have Tchiyat HaMetim, and then for a punishment, so he'll be placed with those who are punished, and then he'll be out of place. So perhaps they're all Tchiyat HaMetim, or perhaps somehow their clothing remains with them, like Shemuel, who's when he's raised up from the dead, he's wearing his robe, right? So perhaps that. Okay, good. Rabbi Ishmael Omer Mekapelin. Okay, this is the Mishnah. Said that according to Rabbi Ishmael, you can fold clothing on Yom Kippur in preparation for Shabbat. Right? In other words, he's saying he thinks that Yom Kippur, let's say Yom Kippur falls out on Friday and Shabbat is on Saturday. This cannot happen in our calendar, right? We make sure that Yom Kippur is never on Friday or Sunday, so you don't have 2 days in a row that you can't cook. But in those days, whenever the witness came, that's when the Yom Kippur would be. So it could happen. So when this does happen, Yom Kippur, according to the Bishmael, is of a lesser status than Shabbat, and therefore you can prepare from Yom Kippur to Shabbat, and you can fold clothing on Kippur so that it'll be ready to wear on Shabbat. Rabbi Akiva says, no, you cannot do that. Yom Kippur and Shabbat are the same level, and you cannot prepare from one to the other. Okay, so now we're going to prove each one. Tanu Rabbanan, Olat Shabbat be Shabbato. Okay, not only folding clothing, but also the Mishnah talked about burning the leftover sacrifices. So let's say Shabbat, you have the sacrifices of the day of Shabbat, and you burn them. You're allowed to do that because you're allowed to do anything in the Bet HaMikdash service on Shabbat. And now you have leftovers, so you put it on there Saturday night, and then it burns all night, which is what we started the sugya with cleaning up in the morning. Okay, if Yom Kippur falls out after Shabbat, then what is the law? Rabbi Ishmael says it's okay because Yom Kippur is lesser status. You can leave the Shabbat leftovers all Motzei Shabbat on Yom Kippur, and it can burn on Yom Kippur. That's okay. But not the other way around. If it was Yom Kippur, it was on Friday, then the leftovers of Yom Kippur you cannot burn on Shabbat because higher status. That's Rabbi Ishmael. Rabbi Akiva says no, they're equal status, and you cannot burn either on either Yom Kippur for Shabbat or Shabbat for Yom Kippur. You got to keep the leftovers out and wait till later to burn them. Okay, that's the machloket in the Mishnah. Now we're going to prove each one. Olat Shabbat b'Shabbato. This is regarding all the korbanot of Shabbat. You bring the Olat Shabbat, the burnt offering of Shabbat, and it has an extra word b'Shabbato, right? Alolat Tamid. In addition to Olat Tamid, this word b'Shabbato you could have left it out. It's because you said Olat Shabbat. Alolat Tamid. You bring the of Shabbat in addition to the other special one for Shabbat, in addition to the other ones. So what's the word b'Shabbato? So it's coming to add something. But it's also coming to exclude something. See, the word bishabbat is an inclusionary word, but bishabbato, it's Shabbat, meaning only it's Shabbat. So it's coming to include something and exclude something. What is that? We have two opinions. Nimed al Shabbat shekerebim b'yom kippurim. So when it says olat Shabbat bishabbat, that means that the leftovers of Shabbat you can offer on another Shabbat. And Yom Kippur is called Shabbat Shabbaton. So therefore, that teaches that you're allowed to burn the leftovers of Shabbat on Yom Kippur. And then it says, B'Shabbato, Yachol Af Shel Yom Kippurim B'Shabbat. Can it be that also Yom Kippur, if it's on Friday, you can burn the leftovers on Shabbat? Tamud Lomar B'Shabbato. It's Shabbat. Right? In other words, only the leftovers of Shabbat and not the leftovers of Yom Kippur. Divrei Rabbi Ishmael. Rabbi Akiva Omer, Olat Shabbat b'Shabbato, comes to teach you something else. Limed al Chebe Shabbat, shekerevim b'Yom Tov. No, this is talking about if Yom Tov falls out on Sunday, then the leftovers of Shabbat can be brought on Saturday night, which is Yom Tov. That's coming to include Olat Shabbat b'Shabbat. Yachol af b'Yom Kippurim. What if it's Yom Kippur is the day after, it's on Sunday? Talmud Omar b'Shabbato. No, only a day that is another b'Shabbato, only a day that is Shabbat, but not Yom Kippur. Olat Shabbat b'Shabbato, only something of lesser, but not Shabbato, which Yom Kippur, which is like Shabbat. Okay. Keshetimsa lomar ledibrei b'Ishmael nedarim udvot kerebin b'Yom Tov. Okay, now we're going to correlate this machloket with another one, which is on Yom Tov. Obviously, you're allowed to bring the korban tamid and the special korban that you need for Yom Tov. But what about other things that you promised during the year? So I want to give a special korban, a korban todah or something, right? And then I'm coming on the Hajj. This year the Hajj is canceled, but other years. Right, I'm coming on the Hajj, on the pilgrimage, and I want to bring my korban. Can I offer it on Yom Tov? Well, I don't have to bring it on Yom Tov. I could bring it anytime during the week, right? So usually we say halachas like Rabbi Akiva that says you cannot bring it on Yom Tov. You don't have to bring it on Yom Tov. Bring it another time. But Rabbi Ishmael says you can bring a korban nedava even on Yom Tov. So in this here we can now correlate it. According to Rabbi Ishmael, nedarim undavot kerebim b'Yom Tov. And when the pasuk has to come and say, well, you need a pasuk to come and tell you that you can burn something on Yom Kippur, right? That's why you need the pasuk. But if it was simply Yom Tov, you wouldn't need a pasuk. Of course, that's allowed. The Dvei Akiva, the Nedarim Davot, and Kerebim Yom Tov, he uses the pasuk to say that you cannot burn. He says you cannot burn anything on Yom Tov. The Mishra b'Yom Tov, right? And so he assumes that you are not allowed. And so therefore you need the pasuk to come and say, oh, it's allowed in this case, the leftovers of Shabbat, you are allowed. You need a pasuk to teach you that, because otherwise you would not be allowed to bring anything that's not Yom Tov related on Yom Tov, like Nedaba. And this is the exception. Okay. Amar Rabbi Zera, ki avena beBavel amri hava amri. Rabbi Zera is famous for, he grew up in Bavel, and then he moved to Eretz Yisrael, and he fasted, many fasts, to forget all the Torah of Bavel, right? Because he felt that the Torah of Eretz Yisrael was higher level. So here's an example. When it was in Bavel, they used to say this following Baraita: Yom Kippurim shachal liot erev Shabbat, lo hayu tok'ain. Moshe Shabbat lo hayu mavdilin dibra kol hi. So they had this baraita that says if Yom Kippur is on Friday, we would not do tikiot. Usually every Friday afternoon, they would blow the shofar. You know, like over here, they have the sirens, right, on at candle lighting time, right, to tell everyone. So in the Bet HaMikdash, they used to blow the shofar. We actually, archaeologists found a stone, if you go to the Israel Museum, you'll see it, that was on the wall, on top of the wall of the Bet HaMikdash, and it says, here is where they used to blow the shofar. That stone fell down, was pushed down, with the destruction of the Bet HaMikdash, and it was found by archaeologists. You can go and see it. So we know exactly where they did this. So they would do tikiot first, an early one, so the people in the fields would come in, and then one when people in the city would had to stop doing melacha. Okay, you do this every Friday afternoon. But what if Yom Kippur is on Friday? Well, then they're already not doing melacha on Yom Kippur. So lo yutokin, there's no need to announce stop doing melacha. They're not doing melacha anyway. And if Yom Kippur was on Sunday, then you don't say Havdalah because there's nothing to Mavdil. You still can't, you have to continue not doing Melacha. So you don't do Havdalah on Saturday night. You'll do it on Sunday night. I used to think that this is the B'nai HaKol. I used to think that everyone agrees with this. However, when he made Aliyah, when he went to Eretz Yisrael, then he learned something new. Rabbi Shimon ben Pazi, Rabbi Akiva, he met Rabbi Shimon who said this is only the opinion of Rabbi Akiva because they're the same status. Rabbi Ishmael, since he says that the leftovers of Shabbat can be brought on Yom Kippur, so you see that Yom Kippur is a lower status. So you better blow the shofar to indicate that you're going from a lower level to a higher level of isur, of prohibition. Or it could be, more likely it's talking about on Motzei Shabbat, that at Motzei Shabbat you would blow the shofar to indicate that now Shabbat is over and we're blowing shofar to say that Yom Kippur is now here, which is a lower level because we can burn the leftovers on Yom Kippur, right? You want to indicate that change in status. I told him, I don't think that you need to blow the shofar for that reason because the Kohanim know, right? The Kohanim, you don't need to blow a shofar as a reminder to the Kohanim. Oh, hey guys, now it's a different status of melacha. The Kohanim are the experts; they should know it on their own. And so I told them, no, I think you still don't need it, and it should be the opinion of everyone, even with what you just said. Now a tangent on this idea about Kohanim Zirizin. Is that really true that the Kohanim always know the right thing to do and they don't need reminders? Shalosh lehabtil et ha'am melacha. Shalosh lehabdil ben kodesh lechol. When they blow shofar every Friday, 3 would be to stop the people from doing work, and then 3 more to stop ben kodesh lechol. In other words, not the people outside, but rather the kohanim, so that they would stop doing work. So you see that we don't trust them, right? That kohanim also need a reminder. No, we reject that. In a different context, Abaye said, this is for the other people in Jerusalem. So the first set of 3 were the people in the outskirts, out in the fields, and then the second 3 were for the people in Jerusalem. But the Kohanim themselves really did not require blowing. So that answers that question. Now, okay, there's a mistake in this edition. They repeated this paragraph twice. Okay. And now we say, still, let them blow shofar, even though the Kohanim don't need to know it. The people still need to know the change in status between Yom Kippur, Shabbat, and Yom Kippur. What is a change? What else is a change in status that's different from them? On Yom Kippur, you are allowed to start cutting vegetables in the afternoon. After mincha, you can already start preparing the meal that you're going to eat at the end of Yom Kippur. This is a special kula that they had for Yom Kippur, but you can't do this on Shabbat. On Shabbat, you can't start preparing your Saturday night meal on Shabbat. So here is where it's a lower level status. So we say they should blow shofar at the end of Shabbat to say, now Yom Kippur is starting, and Yom Kippur well, not now, but Sunday afternoon, you'll be able to cut the vegetables. And so to indicate the change in status, you should still blow shofar. Amar Rav Yosef, he says, no, we don't blow a shofar to go down when we're talking about going down a level. Blowing a shofar on Shabbat is not asum medoraita. It's asum mishum shivut. It's not a restful thing to do. You shouldn't go around blowing instruments, making a lot of noise. It's not restful. We allow it when we need to. If you need to indicate that, we're going up in a higher status. So, for example, if Yom Tov is first and then Shabbat's coming, you'd blow shofar to say, Yom Tov finished, now it's a higher status. Okay, that you do. That's important to do. But if you're going from a higher status to a lower status, so what's the worst thing? People will be a little bit more machmir. We're not going to undo a shivut for a heter. And that's why we would not blow shofar between Shabbat and Yom Kippur. That's the opinion of Rav Yosef. Rav Shesha has a similar opinion, but Rav Idi Amar, Shibut Keroba hitiru, Shibut Rechoka lo hitiru. You know what? We would, in general, if it was Shabbat and then Yom Tov, you'd blow a shofar to say, now we're going down, now you're allowed to cook. But that's a Shibut, that's a Keroba. That's happening right now. However, for something that's not going to happen till tomorrow afternoon, you'll be able to start cutting vegetables. That's like in a long time, and it's a relatively small heter. So that's a small thing to have to announce. We're not going to violate a shivut in order to just announce this little thing that's going to happen tomorrow. Okay. Ushvut keroba hitiru. Is that true? That Shivut Keroba is allowed, that you are allowed to blow shofar for something an immediate one. V'atenan, Yom Tov shechal liot erev Shabbat, tokin velo mavdilin. Moseh Shabbat, mavdilin velo tokin. So Yom Tov, which I brought the example just now, is on Friday. So then you're going to blow the shofar. You don't say Havdalah. You don't say Havdalah on Friday for Yom Tov because now you're continuing a higher level, but you do make a tikiyah because you're going to a higher level. Moseh Shabbat, Mavdilin, you do say Havdalah, as we do, because you're going from higher melacha to lower. You don't do tikiyah, means you don't blow shofar when you're going down in status. So why don't they blow shofar so that everyone knows that you're allowed to, this is now permitted. Ela machvarta k'derav Yosef. Rather, you see that we're rejecting Rav Idi that says you would only not blow shofar for something that's far off. No, shevut lehatir. For any heter, we never blow shofar for something that's going to be mutar, even for it doesn't matter whether it's kiroba or rechoka. And that would now go back and explain the reason why we don't blow shofar between Shabbat and Yom Kippur, according to any opinion. Okay, very good. Amar Rabbi Zera, Amar Rav Huna, Amri La, Amar Rabbi Abba, Amar Rav Huna. Yom Kippurim shachal liot b'Shabbat, asur b'kinibat yarak. Okay, now we have not the day before and after, but the same day. Yom Kippur is Shabbat, falls on Shabbat, which can happen in our calendar. If that happens, you cannot cut the vegetables on Shabbat afternoon for your meal, because it's not only Yom Kippur, it's also Shabbat, so we have to be more machmir. Amar Rabbana, Tana, minayin leyom, Tana, we have quotes of Baraita, minayin leyom Kippur shechal yot b'Shabbat she'asur b'kibat yarak. How do we know that you can't prepare the vegetables on Shabbat afternoon if it's Yom Kippur? Talmud Omar, Shabbaton shivut. It's not a melacha. It's not one of the melachot, but we learn it from what says Shabbat, Shabbaton. That extra word, Shabbaton, tells you that it should be restful. And there's not a restful thing to do on Shabbat to start preparing for after. Lemai, why do we need Shabbaton? Ilema le-melacha, v'ketiv lo taseh mikol melacha. It's talking about one of the major categories, the 30 melachot. We know that already. Elalav akenibat yarak shemamina. We are teaching us something else, something that is not technically a melacha, but not restful. So this is, for example, among other things that are shivut, preparing the vegetables. Okay, so that's one opinion. Amar Rabbi Chiya, Amar Bar Abba, Amar Rabbi Yochanan is going to say the opposite opinion. Yom Kippur shechal liot b'Shabbat, mutar b'kinibat yarak. You are allowed, even if it's a Shabbat, you can prepare Meti be'minayin. We have a question from that same baraita. Now it's a challenge. Minayin Yom Kippurim shechal liot b'Shabbat she'asur b'nekibat yarak. Talmud Omar Shabbaton shevut. למאי למה למלאכה והכתיב לא תעשה כל מלאכה אלא לה בכניבת ירק. That whole same point that says Shabbat Shabbaton, the word Shabbaton comes to add not only things that are technically melacha, but even things that are not restful you can't do. So doesn't that mean you can't do it? Lo leolam limlacha. No, even the word Shabbaton is coming to tell you not to do melacha. Labor aleha ba'aseh ve'lo ta'aseh. I wanted to add, if you do one of the third melachot on Shabbat, you violate a lo ta'aseh, because it's lo ta'aseh melacha, and naseh, because you didn't rest. And so that's what it's talking about. But really, you can, but just cutting vegetables, that's okay. Tanya kivater Rabbi Yochanan, Yom HaKippurim shachal liot b'Shabbat, mutar be'kenibat yarak. We have another baraita that in fact follows that says you are allowed to prepare the vegetables on Shabbat Yom Kippurim for the meal that will come after. Not only are you allowed to prepare the vegetables, but you are also allowed to crack nuts, remove the pomegranate seeds. You can do it from the time mincha and on. Why? Because of anxiety. In other words, people are fasting a long time, and then they're thinking, even though when the fast is over, only then we have to start preparing the meal. That's going to take another hour. We're not going to eat, and people are getting anxious. So we give them a heter, we give them a little bit of a leniency, so that they can get by the fast more easily. Okay. Rashi has a different interpretation of this agmad nefesh. She says the opposite, that we want people to really suffer. And so at the end of towards the end of the fast, when you're really, really hungry, you go and prepare this, and then that makes you even more hungry and harder to do. So we want people to suffer extra. But I think the Peshat is like the first thing I said. When you're getting so close, then you can handle. You're not going to eat by mistake or anything, because you have only an hour or two left. So it goes by easier, and just preparing the meal, you already know, okay, we're going to be eating soon, so you won't be so anxious. And people at other things. In Yehuda's house, they would trim cabbage. In Abba's house, they would scrub the gourds. They're starting to prepare the meal. Ata igarta mimaraba mishemed Rabbi Yochanan de Asir. So in the house of Rabbah, where they're scrubbing the gourds, so one time he came, he saw that people, the family members are starting to prepare the salad even before the afternoon. Already in the middle of the day, they're starting to prepare. They're being too lenient on this. So he had to stop them. So he said, a letter came from Eretz Yisrael, and the letter is in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. He said, you're not allowed to do this. Okay, that doesn't mean that he said a letter came and Rabbi Yochanan said, did Rabbi Yochanan send the letter or not? It sounds like Rabbi Yochanan did not send the letter. But Rabbah felt that if he said it on his own authority, his wife, his kids would be like, he's not, wouldn't listen to him. But if he says the name of the great authority, Rabbi Yochanan, then they would listen to him. So you see that I guess he would justify saying, if Rabbi Yochanan knew, right, that people are taking advantage of his kula, then surely he would not give such a kula. So Rabbi Yochanan didn't write the letter, but he would have agreed to this, and so he tells his family that they should not take advantage of this kula and only limit it to the time of min mincha ulema'ala hadan alach ve'elu kisharim. Okay, chazakim u'beruchim. We'll start the next perek tomorrow.